When I was a little girl, I wanted to work with animals. I remember wanting to be a vet, and after that I wanted to work for the RSPCA, just anything that was, I wanted to help wildlife and do something good. And then I did art as like a hobby, but my dad was an artist. He's been a wildlife artist for as long as I can remember. And when I was a little girl, I used to sit in his studio and watch him paint, and he'd paint these amazing scenes of like elephants and lions and tigers, and in the back then would be like Amboseli and the Kilimanjaro, and so I'd watch him paint and think I want to visit those places. And when in my spare time I would always draw as a kid. I was always good at art, but my passion was always wildlife. I always wanted to draw animals. I've always kind of grown up with like my dad doing art, but I never thought that I would be an artist when I grew up. I always wanted to work with wildlife. I've always, from a young age, been really passionate about wildlife and animals. That's always been my passion. And when I did my degree in zoology. I did artwork, I kind of dabbled. Like in my spare time I would draw, but my passion was always wildlife. And when I finished my degree, I went on and did a master's in biodiversity and conservation. And I used to draw in my spare time, and one of my friends came in and he saw like a picture I'd done of a lion. I said, "Oh, that's amazing, can I buy it off you?" And I was like, "Really? Like, no, you can just have it." And he's like, "No, I want to pay you for it." And I called my dad and I said, "One of my friends has just asked to buy one of the sketches I'd done like in my spare time." He said, "Why don't you try selling your art like I do?" So it kind of started like that, and I'd do like, it was pencil drawings I started off doing, and then started selling those on eBay, and it kind of went from there. And then I never stopped. So my intention was always to get a job in the wildlife field. And then I started doing the art, and yeah, I never stopped. I fell in love with it. And I thought, how can I combine the two, my love with wildlife and conservation and my love with art? And that's when I started thinking I can donate work to wildlife charities. So I do a lot of work with charities where I can. I donate pieces, I do fundraisers on social where I can. So yeah, I think it's important to give back in that way. When I'm working in oil paints, I've got a couple of techniques that I use. So I have two different styles that I'm currently working on. I have a realism style, and I've got like a messy, I call it my dream series, where I paint wildlife in multicolours. So I'll take like a picture of, say, like a Highland cow, and I'll pick out the dark areas, and I'll pick colours that are dark. So I'll pick out blues, purples, and add some blacks in there. And then for the lighter colours, I'll pick out my yellows and oranges. And it's just a real loose technique rather than doing everything neat, compacted, and like in my realism style, it's very particular and exact. And this one is just let loose, grab some colour and splash it on, and then I'll get my paint and I'll get the paintbrush back, and I'll flick the paint on the background and let the colour run down, and it's just a real free style. And I really like working with that one, it's really cool. I don't just use the oil paints neat, I will mix it with a medium called Zest It, and it thins, basically like a paint thinner, and it thins down the paint so I can get really fine details with my paintbrushes. With Arteza, what I really like about them is their prices are so affordable that so many people can access your products, and also there's such a wide variety of stuff on your website, which makes it great for dabbling in different areas. So there's oil paints, acrylics, there's markers, and there's just so much for people to have a go at. So I think they're a really good, cool company. Paying it forward is super important, because I wouldn't be where I am today doing what I do without learning from other people and other people's generosity. In this day and age with social media, it's a lot easier to get seen, but the market is so saturated with other artists that that's a constant struggle, getting something that stands out and making sure that it gets noticed and knowing where to sell things. It's always a constant struggle. So I'm always happy when people message me on social to give them advice, give them help, give them tips, help them with their social media. So I just think it's important. I think artists should support other artists. I've got 2 post-it notes in my studio, and one of them is, "The only thing constant in life is change." Another affirmation I live by is, "Comparison is the thief of joy." Besides an artist, I'm a mum, I'm an adventurer, I'm a photographer. I really like photographing wildlife. I used to, before I had children, I'd travel the world and photograph animals in different countries, so I'd really like to get it back into that again. I'm Sarah. I've got a zoology degree from Newcastle University, and I've also done a master's in biodiversity and conservation that I did at Leeds. I'm a wildlife artist from the UK.